When it comes to third-party add-on scenery and airport purchases, we flight simmers tend to fall into one of two categories. We're either somewhat monogamous and tend to stick with one developer, or those of us that are perhaps more adventurous and we tend to play the field. When I look at my back catalogue of purchases over the last 12-18 months for various flight sims, I see that I've predominantly supported one developer. And that developer has been Orbix. Now, it wasn't a conscious decision, it just seems to have happened that way, and that's because I trust and I know the quality of the product that I'm getting, and that's always important when making a purchase. I recently released a video where I outlined a debate I had with a flight sim colleague over the value of small airports in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Link in the notes below. Following the release of that video, a subscriber reached out to me and recommended I take a look at this airport, Wycombe Air Park. Wycombe Air Park is developed by a company called Pilotplus, and Pilotplus are not new to the flight sim world, having already been in development for some time for flight sims such as X-Plane. Although their products are available through Orbix Direct, they remain a third-party independent developer. So I went along, purchased the software, installed it into Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I must say I'm very impressed. There's a level of detail, 3D texturing and modeling that one rarely comes across. And it's left me wondering whether I should be considerably more adventurous in terms of my choice of software developer in the future. Welcome to the SimHanger. My name's Mark, the SimHanger for all things flight sim related. And today, well, we're going to take a look at Wycombe Air Park. We're also going to jump into the trusty Cessna 152 low and slow and go for a quick flight and see if we can pick up any points of interest included with the scenery. So, let's get started. This airport is situated about 20 miles north of Heathrow and is on the fringes of the Greater London area. And as you can hear, it's starting to drizzle. There's a bit of rain coming in, not an infrequent event at this time of year. When it rains, as it often does in the UK, this airport has a unique feature. The glass of the control tower shows the droplets of rain. Let's just turn up the amount of rain so that it's a little bit more visible. That should do. How neat is that? Yes, it's only a small feature, but what it does highlight is the amount of attention to detail given to this airport. But the attention to detail doesn't end there. Even the inside of the control tower is modelled to some degree with some detail. I love the charts and maps just laying around. There's a few flight plans as well. I hope one of those is mine for the Cessna 182. With a detail level of 5 centimeters per pixel and using the latest in texturing techniques, as well as fine 3D modeling, as you can see, all the cars are different models. It has served to create an authentic recreation of Wycombe Air Park. The 3D modeling skills of the developers is clearly evident right down to the small items and debris about the airport. And as you can see, as the light bounces off the roofs and walls, Pilotplus are using the latest in texturing and lighting. Well, I must say, some of those cars are certainly a lot cleaner than mine is. There's a variety of signs and notices scattered about. All of them are completely readable. Wycombe Air Park is very popular with GA pilots. There's a number of maintenance and training options available, as well as an active glider community. Pilotplus have not only modelled the airport itself, but the greater surrounds as well, including a number of points of interest, such as Adams Park Stadium, well known to football fans, as well as St. Lawrence Church, or better known as the Golden Ball Church, so named as it has an 8-foot golden ball atop one of the spires. The airport has an asphalt and a number of grass airstrips, and we'll be trying out both today. We're going to stay low and slow, and seeing if we can pick up both the stadium and the Golden Ball Church. So it's time to get going. We're in the cockpit of the Cessna 152. I'm just going to quickly hide the yokes so that the switches etc. are easier to get at. And let's start prepping so we can get away. Mixture pushed to full rich. Turn the fuel on. Fuel valves are now open. And now to turn on the battery and the alternator and the beacon light. There's no master avionics switch in the Cessna 152. As soon as the battery and alternator are on, well, then the instruments come alive. And as this is a fairly old aircraft, obviously no glass cockpit or anything like that. It's old-fashioned steam gauges all the way. Aircraft's been stood for a little while, so I'm just going to prime the engine. Parking brake is on, as it should be. We're almost ready for start, just going to push the throttle in a little bit so we can maintain the revs and make the start a little bit easier. A quick check to make sure we're clear and nobody's by the prop except for the inevitable pushback Microsoft guy. And now we're ready to turn the magnetos on and commence the start. As soon as we have a successful start, we should see the pressure start to build, and there we go. And we have a successful start. It's now time to put on our nav lights. We're also going to put on our strobe and our taxi lights as well. Parking brake off and we're clear to taxi. Pushing the throttle forward a little bit and we start to move forward. We're going to be taking off from the asphalt runway 24. As we taxi, we will just check that our trim is correct for takeoff, and we're also going to set our flaps one notch down. We're just going to hold at this point and wait for clearance to the runway from the tower. A little bit over the line, never mind, there's not much traffic around today. Tower have given us clearance to taxi and hold on the runway. So landing lights on, our taxiway lights can come off. I'm also going to put on the pit-op and the dome lights as it's fairly dark in the cockpit as it's so overcast at the moment. Let's now taxi to runway 24. Our route today is just a very short hop. We're going to climb out on runway 24 before turning and heading only a distance of just over 2 miles to the Golden Ball Church. From there we're going to be turning back towards the airport and have a look at the stadium, which is only 1 mile from this runway. And from there we're going to be turning towards the airport for a landing runway 6 on the grass strip. There's a grass strip running parallel to the asphalt runway at Wycombe Air Park. Pressures and temperatures looking good. Holding her on the brakes, slowly advancing the throttle, just letting her get moving, slowly pushing the throttle forward, and now at full throttle. Airspeed now starting to register. I'm going to be looking for about 60 knots for takeoff. Coming up on 15 knots, 60 knots, and pull back gently on the yoke and up we go. We're not going to be climbing very high today. I'm going to be staying between 1,000 and 1,500 feet. I'm going to hold this heading and climb out until we get to a safe altitude and then flaps away. That scenery just looks so realistic. We're now at a safe altitude, so flaps coming up, a little bit of back pressure on the yoke to hold the nose up and maintain a gentle climb. We're just coming up on 1,000 feet, and now we're going to start turning and heading towards the Golden Ball Church. The Golden Ball Church is on our immediate right. Not really close enough, not getting a good look at it, so I think we will turn around and see if we can get a better look. Pulling back on my throttle as I want to lose some altitude so we get a closer look at this church. This golden ball is 8 foot in diameter and covered with gold leaf, although it's hollow, made of wood. And although you can no longer go inside it, previously it could accommodate up to 6 people. Adding power now so that we can gain a little bit of height as we head towards Adams Park Stadium, and it's heading back towards the airport. The stadium's directly in front of it, just turning onto it now, and once again pulling back on the power so that we can lose some altitude so we can have a good look at it. The stadium is home to the local football team. The stadium's on our right, and it looked like there was some trees in the stadium. Now I know most stadiums haven't been used for a while, but certainly not that long a period. Doing a tight turn to see if we can get a better look at the stadium. There we are, and yes, there's definitely trees in the stadium. Time to climb out now. We're going to gain a bit of altitude and head directly to the airport. And by doing so, we should be reasonably well lined up for a landing on runway 6. I'm going to guess the trees in the stadium are a result of Microsoft's AutoGen. Now turning on to final for landing. I've left the turn a little bit late. I may have overshot it slightly. Runway should be coming into view about now. There it is. And we're aiming for the grass strip that runs parallel to the asphalt runway. My speed is between 60 and 70 knots and my flaps are fully down. Landing lights on. I'm a little high according to the PAPI lights on the asphalt runway. But that shouldn't be a problem. I got plenty of opportunity to lose height, and it's also a long runway. The runway is also slightly domed, so we'll be landing on a slight incline. Speed now just over 15 knots, pulling right back on the throttle and let us settle down. And we're down. I'm happy with that one. Only gentle pressure on the brakes required as it's quite a long runway and we'll slow down naturally. Now turning onto the taxiway, and time to retract our flaps fully and to clean up the cockpit. Welcome back to Wycombe Air Park. Now for us to find a parking. Parking bay 17 looks good. That'll do. Let's now start the shutdown procedure. We'll just turn off those lights. The weather seems to have cleared a little bit, and pull all the way back on the mixture to full lean, and that will kill the engine. Well, if there's one thing I've learned from this experience is perhaps I need to be a little bit more adventurous in terms of my scenery and airport selection in the future. I believe small airports do add to the level of enjoyment and immersion in Microsoft Flight Simulator. In fact, in any simulator for that matter, particularly if it's an area that you fly into on a regular basis. Pilotplus's Wycombe Air Park is of such a high caliber, in fact, that you may want to fly in the area just to visit the airport. I hope you found this useful and informative. Thank you very much for joining me. If you like this type of thing, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell for future notifications. See you all again very soon. Thanks for joining me, and bye for now.